And yeah, it's also the cure to all my back pain, right? Because like I've talked about forever now, all of my back pain stems from that. Either the overuse of the muscles around my back or the overextension of my back. And now my knees and my elbows take over because I've connected my whole body across itself instead of trying to isolate all of that power into one place. Very good. And as far as religion goes, I've had the same kind of discovery. That's what the ooblek framework was talking about, which is like in the same way your back needs to, instead of taking control and forcing itself to be rigid or forcing itself to be relaxed, both of those are bad. It's a gradient, right? In the same way, you cannot force frameworks to bend your will. You cannot force synchronicities to do your bidding. You're only capable of relinquishing your control over them to the point at which you choose which ones exist and which ones don't. That's what the whole appreciation beam goes over. The whole point of appreciation beam is to say that you aren't any individual thought. With the cessation of identification, you are capable of choosing which thoughts get to permeate your brain and which thoughts do not. The appreciation beam is the beam which destroys, quote unquote, bad thoughts, doesn't even destroy them manually. It's just you appreciate their homosexuality and they instantly eviscerate themselves, spontaneously combust. Um, and the whole concept of like that new framework discovery I was talking about, be the man behind the framework, the man behind the moon. It's all that. It's the same thing. Which it's literally what leads to the Aperion beam, or it's what the Aperion beam says. However you want to say it. It's the concept of not being any individual framework, but just being the one who dictates which frameworks pass the filter. God is not any particular combination of frameworks. You can't find God as a framework equation. You can only find God in the unfolding of frameworks. God is the active decision maker between frameworks. If you are aligned with God, then you are choosing whichever framework is the best for the given moment. Not, assigning yourself as any individual framework. You're never letting any of the jabbering become you. Any voice which says it's you is not the only voice which you should ever identify with, is the one which is consistently obliterating any identification. So in the only voice which you should ever trust is the one which is saying, I am not you, I am not you. Never the one which is saying, I am you. That one's always lying. And it's the same concept of structural integrity through relaxation, in the same way that the thing that I now understand that should help my back, where before I would try and be so rigid that it destroyed my muscles because they had to take over, or I tried to be so relaxed that it destroyed my joints because then they had to take over. Recently, I've whatever the word for spiraled, but in a binary is, I've repeatedly circled between the poles of trying to completely and totally take control and completely and totally give up control, and not give up control in a good way, but give up control as in literally stop making decisions entirely. And so like what those look like with actual concrete examples, if you try too hard to be rigid with frameworks or with synchronicities, right, then what happens is you try and think of God as an objective truth out there like the Buddhists do. You try and think of him as a thing in itself which you are separate from, and that distance which you picture is the true separation between you and him, right? There's no actual difference. If you were to objectively analyze the situation between you and God, the only distance that exists is the distance which you imagine, and that distance is sadly actually capable of discombobulating your actions, right? The more disaligned, the more misaligned you are with the concept of God, the less capable you are of making the best decisions. So you don't want to be so focused on the rigid nature of God that you lose your ability to actually connect with him. But you also don't want to relax so much that you completely and totally let go of the decision-making process. It sounds really obvious. What that looks like, I feel like, in the most recent stages, or at least the most common iteration of it recently, has been the what I would call it's like whining framework. Basically, it's like you can either try to not get bad synchronicities by expecting bad synchronicities or by attempting to actively expect bad synchronicities not to happen, and both of them are only going to increase the likelihood of bad synchronicities. The only thing you can do to decrease the likelihood of bad synchronicities is to laugh at them and enjoy them and appreciate them to the best of your ability, and only then will synchronicity align with you. And same thing with frameworks. Frameworks are like ooblek, right? The more that you try and force a framework onto yourself, the more it's going to resist you. In the same way that you try and resist psychs, the more that you resist them, the more they're going to consume you. You do not want to fight it. You want to flow with it. And the more that you're capable of flowing with it, the more that it will actually bend to your control. So it's that same concept that I'm learning through mixed martial arts and helping my back pain, which is just the concept of relaxation so that you are in the most control. Like you are relinquishing control to gain control. I had this concept of Buddhist awareness being the cessation with identification to the point where no individual thought can exist. So it's like you're so rapidly destroying any incoming thoughts, anything which runs across the brain is so quickly stomped on that nothing can exist for long enough to establish any firm identification. Like you never actually think that you are any individual thoughts because you're killing each one so quickly. That's what I sort of imagine the Buddhist or Eastern perspective as. And the flaw is that takes so much training. Like literally, it takes 8 years in the fucking mountains. You would need to completely disconnect from Western society to be actually capable of doing that. If you're going to exist within Western paradigm, then you need to be capable of generating coherent thoughts. And so, if you're going to be capable of generating coherent thoughts, and you still want to get to that same place of that quote unquote flow state, right? Then what you have to be able to do is, instead of forcing any individual framework, instead of thinking of yourself as an individual framework, instead of watching frameworks go by and then thinking of themselves as you, instead of hearing the thought which says I want to be lazy right now, hearing the thought which says I want to go to McDonald's, hearing the thought which says no, I don't want to bring my bike inside, I want to let it get rained on because I'm so warm and cozy and sore and I could never get up. It would just be so miserable. Instead of thinking of those thoughts as you and then having to fight them as you, instead of having to go, oh man, I am miserable. Instead of identifying with everyone and letting it consume your mind, you cease identification with it so that you're capable of circumnavigating the correct decision. So as you get those homosexual thoughts, sit around and be lazy, you instead of letting them be you, letting them consume you, identifying with them, you fight them. It's like an active evisceration of those thoughts as they go by. Instead of watching them go by and thinking of them as you watch them go by, and then, as the Buddhists say, you're quote aware of it. So that separateness is capable of eviscerating it. But what I would say is you appreciate it. So it's like you appreciate that thought, and then you appreciate it in relation to the best possible thought texture. You appreciate its relationship to achieving the best possible thought texture. And then depending on its utility, it will either flourish or flicker out and die. And so yeah, that's also all the same concept. So like every good schizo, I'm seeing patterns everywhere. Were you recording that?
I am indeed.
Okay, stop that recording. Starting.